Hello everyone, it's Jules from Tarot Adventures with Jules, and I'm here today to share the Green Glyphs collection with you. I'm going to do a little bit of a walkthrough of the different decks for you, along with the Green Glyphs Glossary. So we have a tarot deck here, we have a rune deck here, a Lenormand deck, an Oracle deck, and the Green Glyphs Glossary that I already mentioned. My fingers are all decorated from a Diwali celebration that we had here in Amherst last week. So yeah, it's extra fancy. Before I discuss each of the individual decks, I wanted to talk a little bit about the box that houses them. It is absolutely stunning with this gorgeous illustration, which you can see on all 5 sides. So the first deck that I am going to talk about today is the stunning tarot deck. It comes, as you can see, in a beautiful gilded green box, complete with a ribbon for easy access. And on the inside, there is a little inscription from James R. Eads, which is just beautiful. So I'm going to take a look at the cards in just a second. As you can see, they come with this beautiful, gorgeous background and gold gilding. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the guidebook. If you're new to tarot, this is a fabulous resource. It starts with the table of contents, then we move on to a note from the creator, followed by a little introduction to tarot, where it comes from, how to approach the craft, or practice rather, how to begin if you're brand new to the practice. There's some sample 3-card readings, adding a 4th card, the Celtic Cross, which is a pretty classic spread. And then we look into some other spread suggestions and start with a Fool's Tale. So those familiar with tarot will know that the major arcana follows a fool's journey from the Fool all the way to the World card. And then the journey, instead of concluding with the World card, it's actually more of an invitation to start that journey all over again. So instead of being an endpoint or a finite ending, you're looking instead at the completion of one cycle and moving into another. And I love that this deck supports that so beautifully, because when you lay all of the cards out, it creates one long story of the Fool's journey, and then the Fool card leads right back, the World card leads right back into the Fool card again. So when you reference the different cards in this book, you'll find that there is the title of the card and then some keywords associated, and then also the keywords for the reversed meanings of the cards. There's also a little blurb for each of the cards that I really love. It's basically boiling down the meaning of the card into a few key phrases, which is super helpful. And this is true for the major arcana, and then we move into the suit of wands, the suit of cups, the suit of swords, and we finish with the suit of stones, which is traditionally the suit of pentacles. And I love that each of these minor arcana suits also comes with its own myth or story, and you follow the same character through their journey as much in the minor arcana as you do in the major arcana, which is really, really cool. So with the tarot deck, and actually all 4 decks that are part of this collection, they all have the same beautiful backgrounds. They can be combined into one large deck, which is comprised of 200 cards, which is pretty impressive. As I mentioned before, they have the gold gilt edging, and there is also a matte UV finish on the cards. And they are poker sized, measuring 2.5 by 3.5 inches. As I mentioned before, the major arcana follows the Fool's journey. And one of the things I love about these decks is the muted color palette. There's very specific tones that are used, and there's a universal feel that goes through all of the decks, which is so fantastic. And there's also thematic colors used. So if you see an abundance of yellow in the cards, then that indicates positive or uplifting energy. And I'm just going to flip through here till we get to the Tower card, as it's an excellent example of the use of red and orange, which indicates more challenging energy. I don't personally feel like any card is universally good or bad. There's multiple facets to all of them, but it is a good marker of the general energy and tone and feel of that card, especially for someone that is new to the practice of tarot. If you have a card that has predominantly blue or green colors, then that indicates a more neutral energy, as with the moon. And with the world card, it blends everything together really beautifully. One of the things that I really love about James R. Eads' work is in the Prisma Visions as well, when you look at the minor arcana, with a major arcana, there's typically the journey of a single character through different experiences. And that's very beautifully exemplified here, but also in the minor arcana that happens. So you see this figure and their journey through different experiences. And I love that you're kind of following specific myths or legends for each of the minor arcana suits, which is really lovely. So we have the wand suit, we have the the cups, which follows the journey of these really sweet elephants. They're one of my favorite animals. I love this so much. And then once you're at the end of the cups, we move into the ace of, well, the sword suit. I keep saying aces. And you follow these characters as they journey through different experiences and challenges, as is true with the swords. And then we move from there into the stones, which exemplifies beautiful earth energy, but you also have these water elements in the fish. And this is entitled The Two of Stones as opposed to Pentacles. So it really has that grounded earth energy to it, which I love so, so much. And I have done individual flip throughs for each of the decks on my YouTube and Instagram channels, so you can go through for a more thorough overview of each of the suits of the deck. Next up, we have the Green Glyphs Runes, which comes in a beautiful red box with a magnetic close accompanied by the 65-page guidebook. And there is also a set of 24 cards, again with the same back, gold gilded edges, and UV matte finish. The Runes deck also comes with a set of rune dice, which all are different and exemplify all the different symbols that are in the cards. So you can use that for casting as well. This is James R. Eads' take on the Elder Futhark runes, which is an early Nordic system of divination. This type of rune divination typically comes in the form of stones, dice, talismans, or other objects with carvings. And the deck was created to better understand the meanings behind each of the runes. Each of the cards has the runic symbol. It also has the traditional name and an image that exemplifies the meaning of the cards, which of all 4 methods of divination included in this collection, runes are the form that I am least familiar with. So I really appreciate all of these visual and written cues for using the deck. And as with the tarot, there is also color coding for each of the cards. So yellow or gold is uplifting, green is neutral, and then red can be more uncomfortable or challenging energy. I love those visual color cues as well. And then with regards to the books, it's a really it's a really fantastic overview. Again, you have the table of contents, there's a note from the creator, there's an introduction to the use of runes, including a brief history lesson on the origins. There's some insight in how to string the runes together in a reading. There are 3 rune readings, say that 10 times fast, 4 runes, 5 runes and beyond. And then there's also looking at the cards at a glance. And then they're all broken down into different sections, rather. So there's phrase at, I hope I pronounced that properly. There's haggles at. And then finally, there's tears at. According to the latest update on the Kickstarter, there are going to be 9 additional Ango Saxon runes included with this deck. And there are also going to be 4 dice as opposed to 3. So there's 3 8-sided dice, and there's going to be an additional 4th 10-sided dice, which corresponds with the Anglo-Saxon runes. And I think there may actually be an additional Anglo-Saxon card included to make up 10. Next up, we have the Green Glyph Lenormand, which comes in this beautiful yellow box. The Green Glyphs Lenormand was originally released in 2019, I believe, and this second release has upgraded the box, the edges, and the cards themselves. So the box includes the guidebook, which I believe is made up of 80 pages, and there's 41 Lenormand cards. Traditionally, there are 36 in the deck, but there are some additional cards that are included with this that I really, really like. So we'll start by looking at the guidebook. For anyone new to Lenormand, this is a really great resource, much like the other decks. It includes a note from the creator. There's a welcome message, which talks about the history of Lenormand. And then there is a short section that looks at the meanings of the cards, how to read them together as pairs, have a more in-depth peek into the meanings and understanding, how to use the pips, because there are corresponding playing card associations with each of the cards in Lenormand. And then we go into the Grand Tableau, which is a huge spread incorporating all of the cards. As with the other 2 decks, the colors associated with the cards indicate whether it's yellow, gold, uplifting energy, red, orange is unfortunate or negative energy, and then you have the neutral green and blue tones, which can be really helpful. And then we're going to go through the meanings of the cards. So each card has the name of the card, a couple of key phrases, some keywords associated, and then some example combinations between the cards. So these all have 2 card combinations, but you can pair multiples together. So yeah, it's a great resource for folks that are new to the practice of Lenormand or Lenormand, because it gives a really, really great overview. So now let's take a closer look at the cards themselves. Again, these cards are the same size as every other deck in this collection, so they can be combined together or used separately. So in the cards, you've got the name of the card, you've got the playing card correspondences, and then you have an illustration which depicts the meaning. So as we're going through, you can see there's thematic colors with each of the cards, which is super helpful. And one of the things that I wanted to point out that I particularly like about this deck is that when we get to the people depicted a little further along, you'll notice that there isn't just the man and the woman, or the gentleman and the lady typically depicted. Like, you have the gentleman card here and you have the lady, but then you also have the person. So this deck feels very accessible for anyone who is non-binary or gender fluid. It feels a lot more accessible rather than looking at the more binary masculine, feminine representation. So there are 2 lady cards, 2 gentleman cards, and 2 person cards, which is pretty fantastic. And then at the very end of the deck, there is also an additional card that can be used in place of the cross, which is the albatross. And I really enjoy that as well. The final deck that I want to talk about in the Green Glyphs collection is the Oracle deck. It's 50 cards finished with prismatic gold accents on the card faces, along with the gold gilt edging. And it comes in a green box with a ribbon. I think I may have called the tarot box green. It's actually blue. My apologies. So as with all of the deck boxes, this one has a magnetic close, and it contains the book and the cards, and there is a handy ribbon for easy access, which is so fantastic. I mean, you can tilt the box upside down, but I like it when there's a ribbon. It just makes things easier. Again, the backs are the same. You can combine them all together. And these cards don't have the same color coding as the rest of the decks. It's a simpler color palette with the prismatic gold, dark green, and light green. So it's a much simpler palette, and it's left open to the interpretation of the reader. So there isn't any coding positive or negative with color. You can draw your own conclusions from the symbols. And a lot of the symbols used come from James R. Eads' universe of symbolism, and it contains a lot of things that you would find in your day-to-day life. So it brings it a little closer rather to your day-to-day experience. Not that that's not true with the tarot, but yeah, anyway. It comes with, the guidebook is 80 pages. Again, you have the table of contents, the note from the creator, and then welcome to the Oracle, talking a little bit about the approach that he's taken. There's some beginning exercises that you can do. There's a little how to conduct a reading, reading 3 cards, painting the portrait, which is a really cool spread. Celtic Cross again, which we had in the tarot deck as well. It's pretty fantastic. And then we're looking at the Oracle meanings for each of the cards. So as with some of the other decks, you've got the title of the card, a little blurb talking about, about the meanings with a few key phrases, and then you're looking at upright meanings and then reverse meanings using keywords, which is pretty fantastic. So we'll just take a quick look through each of the cards. As you can see, there's lots of day-to-day symbolisms. You've got acorns, a broken glass, some candles, a cat. So these are all symbols that, I mean, some of them are a little more esoteric, the crystal ball, but a lot of them are things that you would find in your day-to-day experience or the realm of your imagination, which is really cool. And I love the finish on this gold finish on the back. It's really, really beautiful. It's prismatic gold there. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, so this is a really cool deck. Like, I tend to get really stuck in systems when it comes to reading cards, where, you know, you've got your RWS, Rider-Waite-Smith system, which has a very set meaning of symbols and associations with the cards. And I love that this, very appropriate given that today is Halloween. I love that this deck leaves it open to your imagination. The interpretation can be anything you want it to be. You can reference the guidebook and see what some of the keywords are, or you can take it off the cuff and see what comes intuitively. And again, I have a flip through of this deck on my YouTube and Instagram channels. So I'm not going to go through everything, but I wanted to give you a little preview of the cards and just look how beautiful this is. I mean, the finish is just stunning, and the illustrations themselves. One of the things that I love is that the artwork throughout this entire 4-card collection is very in sync, like it's very much the same style. So you can there's a through line and a fluidity of the art style with this collection that is just so, so beautiful. The final item that I wanted to touch on in the Green Glyphs collection is the Glossary. It is a beautiful 380-page hardcover book that includes the entire collection with sections on each of the decks and a final concluding couple of pages that goes through how you can use all 4 decks together as a large hybrid deck. I mean, this book is just beautiful. There's the green accent paper, and then you have all of the beautiful symbols finished with the gold edging on the insides, and then with the table of contents, it starts with, it's essentially the same information that you get in all the small booklets, but it's included in a large book, which allows you to take the cards on the go. As part of the Kickstarter, there's actually a box that will allow you to transport all 4 decks together. And I believe there are little separations so that you can keep those decks separate if you want to. There's also a reading cloth. This one is from the Prisma Visions, or Cosmic Visions, excuse me, Kickstarter. And so there's also a orange toned kind of rust colored reading cloth rather, that comes with the Kickstarter, and one side has the runes on it, and I think the other side is for a pendulum, which has now been added to the campaign that allows for yes/no readings. They've got a really nice finish to them, and it's really fun to read on. Back to the booklet, there's a table of contents. You've got the tarot, Lenormand, the runes, and the oracle, and then how to use them all together. So it's got a lot of the same, well, essentially the same information that you find in the smaller books, but just included in one big book together. And as you'll notice with this, there is also the section in the back that talks about using it as a mega deck and combining all of the cards together, which is really helpful. I like to combine all of the cards together in my daily reflection spread. It uses 4 cards, and I typically will pick one from each section or deck rather, and you can check out my Instagram feed to see how that all comes together. And there's a beautiful white cover, there's the gilt finish with all of the images, and this beautiful gilding on the side of the pages as well. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions about the deck, you can reference the Kickstarter page for the campaign. I will be continuing to post with this deck in the next little while so you can get a feel for how it all works. The Kickstarter ends on November 2nd, so you still have a couple of days to back. And you can back all 4 decks together as one collection, or you can back them individually.